Andrew McGahan for SevereMMA here, and Team Towers in Newry, standing alongside Damien Rooney ahead of his fight in BAMMA. And Damien, first things first, you're on the prelim card. What's up with that? One of Ireland's longest fighters, and he's stuck down in the prelims.
Stuck down in the prelims. You know, I won't complain. I'm not really in it for the celebrity status, but you know, wherever they want to put me, that's their choice. I don't really mind. I'm just there to fight, and you know.
You've said before, though, earlier on in the night, kind of suits you. You want to get in and out as quick as possible.
It's never something really I've experienced, no, because I fought all my earlier fights in Newry, so because I was the hometown guy, they always had me pretty high up the card. Then when I transferred over to other promotions, I always sort of maintained there. So I mean, if I'm middle of the card, brilliant, early night for me. Get to watch the rest of the fights.
You've had a frustrating year, being matched, pullouts, saying there's matches coming. Describe it in any way if you can, what the last 12 months have been for you.
Do you know what? It's just shown to me a lot of how the sport's going at the minute. The integrity's going out of it in a lot of areas, from promoters to fighters, you know, or from promotions to fighters. Just in general, you know, promotions trying to shortchange fighters and not pay what they're deserved, and try and sort of play off the fact that there's not many events around to get people on the cheap because they're desperate for fights. Then as well, between fighters as well, who are hand-picking fights. Everyone's sort of hand-picking fights now. A lot of people don't want to take the best fights. A lot of people want the easy matchups to try and pad their record to get to the UFC. And it's been seen, and it's by boys who are top tier in Europe doing this. You know what I mean? It happened to me this year, and it's disgraceful, and it's been happening for a while now, and it's going down that path.
Something I heard you say before that I thought was pretty cool here is, like, if you get a phone call tomorrow morning saying you're needed to fight the number one 125 pounder in the world, if your answer isn't yes, I'll do it right away, you should retire and quit immediately.
Oh, definitely. You know what I mean? Like, that should be what you're in it for. You know what I mean? All these other boys are in it for paychecks, and you know, to tell their friends this is what they do. You know what I mean? You should be in it to try and test yourself in competition. And I mean, if they phone tomorrow and they were like, you know, who do you want to fight? Of course, that should be your answer. You know what I mean? You should want to try and test yourself against the best in the world. That should be what you're in it for, sort of as a benchmark of where you are. And you know, people have forgot why they did this sport. Everyone's looking at it now for money, and everyone wants to, I'll pad my record to get to the UFC to make a bit more money and stuff. And people have forgot about, generally, they got into this at the very start. Well, in majority of cases, maybe it's not for everyone, because they wanted to fight, they wanted to compete. And now people have got into the stage now where they don't want to fight and compete. They want to try and get the easiest fights possible, to try and get as many wins as they can on the record, to try and make it to the UFC and try and add longevity to their career. And that's how it's going. And everyone can see it now. You know, it's been proven now over the last stage in Europe. You know, coaches calling out times where fighters have done this to one of their fighters, and you know, it's disgraceful now when boys are starting to do this. And boys who claim that they are, I'm next in
go on, name him.
What?
Name him.
Not just, well, Marcin Lasota is your classic. You know what I mean? Boys who are next in line for the I'm next in line for the UFC. You know, I'm 1 or 2 wins away from the UFC, and he's your classic example. You know, he came on and he started badgering from word go. I've never talked about a trash the whole time in my career. Been fighting pro 8 years, and from nowhere started a verbal assault on me on Twitter and kept it going. BAMMA sent the contract over. Radio silence. Never heard anything, and then I heard that he signed with a promotion in Russia to fight a guy who was 2-0. Whose record is, he's 2 wins against the guy who's 0-1 and 1-2. You know what I mean? He's your classic record padder who's trying to pad his way to the UFC, and you know, it's disgraceful seeing it. And you know, after this fight, that's one I would love. You know what I mean?
Do you not think, though, you're coming from a unique position that you can say all of this stuff because these fighters are padding their records to get to the UFC to make money, whereas you've got very successful ventures outside of fighting, so you're not relying on that? Or do you think, regardless of all of this stuff, you wouldn't be the type of person to take fights like that?
I sort of see, in a sense, where they're coming from, in the sense that people need to get to the UFC to make the bigger paydays, as that is their career. And I understand that, you know, because I work and, you know, this isn't my financial sort of basis, and I can afford to maybe take fights, you know, not worrying about purse as much as my sort of primary venture in it. But even saying that, you know, early in my career when I was fighting full time, you know, if you look back at my record, I never took the easy fights. If you look back at my record, it's always been boys who are top ranked UK and Europe, you know, so it's never been that. I think you need to have an appeal. Like, I could never take record padding fights. I need something that's going to get me up in the morning, you know, add a bit of fear in the training. Not something we were thinking I have to go and walk through this by in a round, you know what I mean? That presents more fears to me than someone who's supposed to beat me.
Yeah.
You know, because the pressure of, I need to walk through this by in a round, as opposed to, this boy's supposed to beat me. That's ideal for me, you know, not the easy fights that you're expected to walk through.
Well, then look at it from this way. As one of the guys who's been fighting the longest in Ireland, do you think this is kind of not a full circle of your career, but now that you're getting to fight in the 3 Arena, the biggest venue in Ireland that can host an MMA fight, going from these local shows in Uri and places like that, and now you're finally getting the stage somewhere here, like?
Yeah, I really can't wait, you know what I mean? It's true, people say this is definitely the biggest domestic card so far, and in my opinion, there will ever be outside the UFC. Do you know what I mean? Between the calibre of fighters they have on it domestically to the amount of people they're going to have in attendance. You know, it is definitely the biggest card, and you know, it's an honour to be a part of that there, and I really can't wait now to sort of get in and showcase.
And before I let you go, tell me what you know about your opponent. You threw a couple of stats out there about Lesoto's opponents and their record, so I'm kind of guessing that you may have done a little bit of research on your next opponent as well. If you have figures about Lesotho offhand like that, I'm pretty sure you've got something on your opponent.
God, yeah. Well, like saying that, I was sent a message over from Jude Samuel asking, we've got Manuel Cape, a guy from Portugal. What do you think? I said yes straight away. Didn't even look at his record because I just wanted a fight. He said he was a top prospect from Portugal. I said yes. Then I went and looked at his record, and then it proved that he is a top prospect. You know what I mean? I think he's 10-0 as an amateur, 10-1 as a professional. So you know, that's the fights you want. Someone who's supposed to be, you know, he's called the prodigy, supposed to be the next big thing in Europe. That's the fights I want, you know what I mean? A fight that's going to get me motivated. A fight where people are expecting me as the old dog, as they say, to be beat, you know. So this is ideal for me.
I don't think he's fought anyone as big as arms.
I don't know if he has.
I know you want to do it.
At this weight.
You're not going to do it?
No, I'm not going to do it.
Every time I see you, you're flexing.
I have no idea what you're talking about there.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you later.